everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. In today's video, we are going to be making some really large yard signs. So this bad boy is made with some Teckwrap Reflective Vinyl, and I think this stuff is really cool, especially for yard signs. You can see how neat and rainbowy it looks, but this looks amazing at night or when headlights hit it. I also have used this on my mailbox and it's held up for 2 years now, so I know this is a good quality product. Now before we get into the video, be sure that you're subscribed here. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. To make these yard signs, because they're quite large, we are going to use design space, and the first thing we'll do is make a template. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to my images or my shapes here, and I want to use a square. Now I know that the measurements of my sign are 20 by 24. So in order to make this that right size, I need to go to the top, and there's a little lock button. Click the lock and turn it off, and then you want to make it 24 inches wide and 20 inches high. Now obviously it's a little too big for our screen, so we can use the zoom out option down here at the bottom, and that will help us see the entire piece of sign that we're working with. Now I like to work with a little bit lighter color, so I just change it to a lighter gray. That just helps me see it better. If you want to, you can always just change this to a guide as well by using the operation and change to guide. And that just makes it kind of like a pinky red outline. But for some reason, this bothers my eyes. I have a little bit of trouble seeing it that way. So I just like to use basic cut and then a lighter gray. And then I hide it before I'm ready to cut out. Just personal preference thing. You do whichever works best for you. Now I need to add some text, and for this is going to be for a small business event. So what I'm going to type is small business, and I'm probably going to need to do this in a couple of different lines. So in order to do that, I can do it a couple ways, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to make market one line, and I'm going to put event, and then I'm going to do today, and I'll ungroup them in a minute so that we can really size them to fit. But I'm going to make this bigger so we can see the text, because I want to use a different font. I want something a little more bold. I really want it to stand out on my sign, but I don't want it to be huge or hard to read. It just needs to be pretty simple, pretty easy to read. I don't want to go anything scripty. I don't want to go anything fancy. I just need easy to read. So give me a minute. I'm going to choose a font. My usual go-to with signs is Impact. It's easy to read, it's large enough, and it's pretty simple. So I think that's what we're going to use today for this one. Now, I'm going to try to make this fill as much of our sign as I can, because obviously we want it to be as large as possible. So as it sits right now, it's not very big. It's only 12.3 inches long, and it's going to leave a lot of empty space. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the word business, move it down, and then I'm just going to see kind of how big I can make it with the word market event. And I think I can work with that a little bit more. Now I can definitely change some things up in order to fill more of the space and just to make it look a little nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to advanced, and I want to ungroup this to lines. Now I want the market event to be all on one line just because I think it'll work, but the problem being is that the small and the business just aren't going to fit very well together because they're kind of big words. But you can always kind of offset them a little bit, do what you want to do to make it look and fit better. But I do want the today to be a bigger word than the market and all of that. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to leave market event to be about that size, and then I'm going to see how big I can make business without it taking up too much space, because I want to keep small and I want that one to be relatively large as well. I think that looks pretty good. I don't think anything looks too out of place. I think everything looks fairly even, but just kind of get a look at it and make sure I like it, I'm going to select all of my wording and I'm going to align them, and I'm just going to center them horizontally just so I can get a good look and see if I like the spacing, if I like the design. I could probably make today a little bit bigger because it's got a little bit more space to take up. I think that looks much better that way. And now what I can kind of do is play around with different coloring, different things, because I think I want today to be a different color than everything else. So I'm just going to kind of change up my colors, and I got to see about how much vinyl this will all take as well, because that can make a difference as to like what I decide to do. Now let's go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide our square because we don't need it. And you'll notice that all of these say they're too big right now. It's because I have my joy selected. So I'm going to go over and select my Cricut Maker, and you'll see that everything will fit now just fine. Now I need to actually make 4 of these. I need one for each side of 2 signs. So for right now, I'm just going to kind of see how much vinyl this is going to take. First thing I'm going to do is save this, and I'm going to save this as small bus sign. That way I know what it's for, and click save. Then all I want to do is I'm going to click make, because I want to see how much vinyl this is actually going to take up. It's going to need my 12 by 20 formats, which is fine, but I need to see if I can kind of fit things around and move things a little bit, because you'll notice that the word small is on its own line here, on its own sheet, but we're wasting so much right here. This is only going to be about like 3.5 inches, where this is kind of like almost 5. So we just need to play around with things and figure out how best to fit everything, but it is going to take quite a bit of vinyl. So another option that you can always do is to change up your colors. I'm going to be using some reflective vinyl from Teckwrap for this, so I'll probably use a couple of different colors to make it all work, just so that it will fit onto our sign. Now, like I said, I need to make multiples of this, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either come over here, select everything, and duplicate it however many times you need. So if I needed 4 of them, I would do it and make sure I had 4 sets. Or what you can do is once you hit make, there is a project copies option, which is right here at the top. And if you do that, since we've already got 2 on our screen, we just need to make 2 copies of this project, you'll see now that we can fit market event all on one. And then we've got right here with like a business one, we've got the business right here, and then we've got small over here, and then one more small here. Although I really do feel like I wish it would fit right there. It would be so much easier, but it just won't, but that's okay. So we do need a lot of vinyl for this project. And then we only need 2 longish sheets for the today's, and that should be totally fine. There's lots of ways to do this, but you do whatever works best for you. Now I'm going to go down, see what colors I have, kind of play around with my coloring, figure out how I want to do this to make sure that I use enough of the vinyl that it makes sense. And then I'm going to show you how to cut it all, how to weed it, and how to apply it to these corrugated cardboard signs. We're going to be working with this really cool reflective Teckwrap. I've got 2 different versions of it. So this was the older version, but then they have this new version, and this doesn't look nearly as cool, but it is very reflective when it's actually like in the dark. But we're going to start with the older one just so I can get rid of that, so I can, can start using the new. And we're going to use a big mat. We're going to use a long one. And what I like to do personally, I don't cut my vinyl down. I actually will just put it on my mat as is in the full roll. And then once that roll has been like used for the one cut, I'll cut it evenly across, and then I can just keep going with it. That way it doesn't waste any vinyl. And then you can see how I put it on my mat. I put it like in the machine and use that like a roll holder. And then I just press it down onto my mat. And then the rest of the vinyl I just let hang off of the sides. So I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna load this. Now I do recommend doing a test cut. I'm cutting this on the vinyl setting with more pressure, but definitely do some test cuts to see what works best for you.
Did you ever stop and think, why spend too much time just getting ready? Let me be honest, I don't know a single thing that I haven't done to make you notice me. Let me be real here. When I see you, my heart starts racing, but I don't know if I like this chasing and playing and waiting around. It's a shame that my hands start shaking all of the time when you're around me. But this time, girl, I know what's bothering me. I need somebody to love. Oh, nah, 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 nah. Don't you see
Now that I have my corrugated plastic sign ready to go, I have all of my different pieces here. So I just want to make sure I have each of the words that I need. So I have the small today, and then I need to trim out the market event words because I'm making 2 of these and they're double-sided. That's why I have 4 words or sets of words. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these out, and then we're going to be using some of the Teckwrap transfer tape. They have a black grid that works really well for this. The medium tack just doesn't work very well for this reflective vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cut apart, and then I'll show you how we're going to put our transfer tape on. Okay, I have all of my pieces, and I like to either start at the top or the bottom. It doesn't really matter, but I never want to start in the middle. So I'm going to take the other pieces and set them to the side, and we're going to start actually at the top. So I'm going to turn this around because I do already have one side done. I wanted to test a couple things before I filmed, but what we're going to do, we're going to be using this transfer tape. So this is their black grid. It's a little bit of a stronger hold than some of the other tapes, but this works so well. Sorry, my vinyl's trying to roll away. So what I do is I'm going to lay it out, and I'm going to cover the word small here, and I'm just going to cut it where I cut the other piece up here. And I use this same piece of tape for the entire design, and it worked perfectly. So this tape is definitely reusable. Now it is rolly, that's okay. I'm not really concerned about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the backing off. This is a transfer tape that does have a backing on it, so you will need to get that apart. And you're going to pull that paper backing off. Now usually once the paper backing's gone, the tape will stop rolling. It's the paper backing that really causes the roll. Now, if you guys watched me before, you know that I always recommend taking your vinyl and placing it face down onto your tape and not placing your tape onto your vinyl. Now, I do have a little piece of masking tape. This is just from the roll. I'll get that off. It's on the outside, so I'm not worried about it. And then you want to have a squeegee available to you. I'm going to slide my sign out of the way because I want to put this onto a hard surface. That tape is quite sticky. I want to put it on my hard surface of my table, and I want to use that to burnish. I don't want to burnish on the sign because the sign has a little too much give, so it will let me kind of mess it up a little bit if I do it that way. Now we're going to go ahead and take the backing off of our vinyl, which should come off pretty much no problem, but you do want to take your time and just make sure that all of your pieces stay stuck down. But look at that, beautiful, cannot complain. Now we have one other thing that we're going to be using to help us with our designing and our placement, and that is some parchment paper. So let me go ahead and slide this back closer to me so I can actually see what I'm doing. And I am going to be placing this at the very top here, and I'm just going to double check, make sure I've got this facing the correct way, and then you can flip this over, and I'm going to leave a little bit of the transfer tape sticking out of the side of my design here off of the parchment paper. Now vinyl does not stick to parchment paper, so that is something that's really important to note. Now this is not even, so I am going to move it down this direction a bit, and that's okay. That's why we do it this way. It's so that the vinyl doesn't stick to the sign and we can adjust. So I want to make sure that it's straight at the top, and this does need to sit pretty close to the top. And then I just want to kind of see if it looks pretty even. I think that looks good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my transfer tape, lift it up. I'm going to pull that parchment paper out from underneath, and then all I'm going to do is with my hand is press this down along the side here of our decal so that it's down onto our sign. Now we can grab our squeegee, and you want to burnish each of your letters. And because this sign has some divots in it, you may end up with a bubble or two just because it does have a few little divots. So you'll want to make sure that you press this pretty well, and then you want to press in a couple of directions. So I like to go left to right, and then I do a top to bottom and a bottom to top, and that way it's well pressed down. Now the vinyl does really like to stick to this plastic, so it should be fine, but you always want to just be extra careful. Then you can go ahead and peel your transfer tape off, and you should have a beautifully stuck down decal. But again, you don't want to rip it off like a band-aid. You do want to take your time. And as you see, I kind of go in like a back and forth motion. And I find that that helps some of the letters stay down a little bit better. And voila, we have the word small ready to go. Now I'm going to lay the transfer tape back down again. And now we're going to do the business. Now this one is going to need a little extra tape because it's a little bit longer. And that's okay. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little chunk of the tape to the end. And this tape's going to look a little bit different. This is their older style, but it's the same tape. It just doesn't have their logo on it. But I'm just going to use this so I don't have to cut a piece off of the roll. And I'm just going to place this so that it goes under the B. And you can just place it just like so. And then you just want to make sure that the B gets covered, and that's good to go. Now again, I'm going to slide that sign out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and burnish this from the back. Once I've burnished it pretty well, I'm going to go ahead and peel the backing off. Now the S is hanging over a little bit over here, so I do need to be a little careful and make sure that it comes off the backing because it's not actually stuck to the transfer tape on like the corners. But that's okay. It should be just fine. That little edge is totally okay. And voila. Now we're gonna again use the parchment paper, and then once I do this last one, I'm gonna do the other two really quickly and then show you what it looks like when it's all done, because you don't need to watch me do this 4 times. It's all the same idea. Now I'm gonna take that parchment paper and I'm gonna put it under the word small. Now the middle of small is like literally right here. So we need to kind of, business would be, center of business is between the I and the N. So we can use that information to help us line this up. So between the I and the N is the center of the word business. And then you just want to try to get it pretty straight on, like as far as how far it is away from each of the letters in small. It does need to sit pretty close. And I did get a little wrinkle over here. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. And now I'm going to just do that same thing. Peel this off. Lay that down, move our parchment paper over, and then come in with our squeegee. Now, like I said, I did get a wrinkle in this S, but it's fine. These are outdoor signs. They don't have to be perfect. It's okay. Sometimes you'll get a little wrinkle. That was my fault. And then I'm going to burnish everything down. Ooh, the B's sitting a little wonky over here. He's got some bubble in. So we just want to make sure we, again, use our squeegee really well and burnish this down really nicely. And then we can again just peel the tape. So once I peel this, I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 words, well, sections, because one's not a full word, all alone, and then I'll show you what this looks like when it's all done. But this is such an easy way to make these signs because this vinyl is made to go outside.
So much that I'm still keeping to myself, 'cause you don't listen, babe. But still you got me missing you. When I see you, my heart starts racing. But I don't know if I like this chasing and playing and waiting around. It's a shame that my hands start shaking all of the time when you're around me. But this time, girl, I know me. I need somebody to love. Oh, nah, 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 nah. Don't you see what's wrong with me? I need somebody.
Thank you guys so much for joining me today to learn how to make this really big yard sign. I got these at Home Depot. I will link them and the vinyl down below. And don't forget that when you shop with Teckwrap to use code Corinne10, that'll save you 5% when you order. This is such a fun product, works really great, but remember to use that Teckwrap vinyl like transfer tape. That stuff works so much better than some of the other stuff I tried with this. It's made to work with this, so definitely grab some of it. It's a little bit tackier than medium tack and not quite as tacky as strong grip. Now, if you have any questions about this or any of the other things we do here on the channel, let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.